Okay, but would it be one episode? How long is it going to be? I don't know. We'll see. If it's been an hour, so if it's like a half hour more, then it'll be one episode. If it's 2 hours, maybe I'll put it in one episode, maybe two. If it's anything more than 2 hours, then yeah, I'm definitely cutting it up. Definitely cutting this up. Meanwhile, everyone in the gym was left in a state of complete confusion. Toko, famous for being a prolific author, but even though she came across as unsociable and depressing, her mind-blowing transformation seemed to have just tossed all that aside. Toko said just like Jack. Sayaka trembled with fear as Jack tilted her head and stuck out her long tongue. I love the fact that the long tongue is canon. Huh? What's with this reception, you guys? You guys don't know who I was? Or you don't know who I was? Have I been found out? Or have you known all along? And why is the southern samurai dressed like that? That outfit doesn't look good on her at all. The southern samurai was probably referring to Mukuro, which means Toko already knew Mukuro in advance. Confronted by that shocking truth, the students had no idea where to begin talking. So many things were clearly wrong at this point, but there were a few students, such as Byakuya and Kyoko, who opted to remain calm and observe the situation. Alright, someone better spill it. Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? I don't care if you want to stab him or slice him. I can't forgive whoever put that ugly asshole in Big Mac's side. Toko, no, Genocide Jack, spun her scissors in her hands. As she spoke, her emotions and facial expressions changed constantly. Even without the threat of her scissors, she exuded an aura of danger that made her unapproachable. That flank steak of a young boy, like macaroon. A flank steak of a young boy like macaroons is like a blue bird that pops out of a golden egg. If you would have just let me handle it, I would have killed him as good as even Til and My Til would be eager to die. I don't know what that is. But poor Makuti's heart and soul has been stomped on by such a sloppy kill. That actually sounds pretty exciting too. But I decline. Toko, you're not making any sense, screamed Aoi. Want to know what happened to you? Just like Jack answered by pointing scissors at Aoi. What happened to me? I got bored, that's what. That sourpuss locked me up a few days ago, and when she went unconscious, I thought I'd finally get to do my thing. But I woke up to all this. My cutie's soaked with blood, and I've got no clue what's going on. It's so damn confusing. All I can do is laugh. No one seemed to be able to get a straight answer out of Jack, so Fumi made a timid remark. I've dealt with girls like this in my 2D dating games, but this doesn't even compare. It's like there's a triple S difficulty level to clear her. I can't believe you'd think about her as someone worth clearing, mumbled Leon. Yeah, it was clear that things were going nowhere. And as if she was responding to someone else's expectations, Sakura stepped forward. So, she might be in the throes of confusion. I should try to restrain her for now. As soon as she heard that, Genocide Jack stopped moving and stuck out her lizard-like tongue and grinned wickedly. Oh, what's up? Are you really gonna fight me, Battle Ogre? Too bad, my lovely scissors are only for cutting through adorable boys. Women should just stay at home. I wouldn't taint my scissors with your filthy blood. Replied Sakura. It seems my words are useless on you. Sakura entered a fighter's stance, determined to restrain Jack, but Jack knew she couldn't win in a fair fight and adopted a strange stance of her own. In a normal fight, Jack would obviously lose to the ogre, but if Jack focused on just dodging her attacks, the outcome of the fight would be hard to foresee. Of course, Genocide Jack's physical abilities were only obvious to a few of the students in the first place. The two women exchanged hostile stares as the other students gulped nervously and watched. Except for one person. Kyoko was watching something else. She was watching Monokuma, who was in the corner of the gym, unmoving, as white noise emitted from his speakers. He had stopped moving the moment everyone's attention focused to Sakura and Toko. It's possible that Madurai's hacking had been disrupted, but an infinite number of other possibilities were also swirling in Kyoko's mind. She brushed back her hair with her gloved hand and continued to watch. Though she couldn't fully remember her talent, the action she was taking right now were fueled by pure instinct. The strange situations that kept occurring in front of her were shaking her to her very core. Her mind worked diligently to scoop out countless amounts of information from a vast sea of memories. As if they were synchronizing with the synapses of her own little brain, Sakuya and Toko kicked off the ground at the same time, and the intense impact rang through the gym. Thanks to the heated battle that was unfolding in the gymnasium, Mukuro was able to buy more time than she had imagined. As soon as she entered the nurse's office, she rummaged around the medical supplies and did what she could to stop the bleeding. Though she's still quite shallow, Makoto's breathing slowly stabilized. Mukuro let out a sigh of relief. However, even though she was somehow able to stop the bleeding, she wasn't out of the woods yet. Miraculously enough, it seemed like none of Makoto's major arteries or organs were damaged. Was this perhaps thanks to his ultimate luck? Or maybe he wasn't actually all that lucky. After all, the only sort of medical treatment he could hope for was partial at best. Mukuro couldn't decide. If only I could do a blood transfusion. The nurse's office should have had several packs of blood for transfusions. Mukuro suspected that Makoto's blood type might be written in his e-handbook, but as she reached out of his pockets, I see her reaching for a sleeping boy's clothes. What in the world is going to happen next? Adults can keep playing, but you kids better press the B button, okay? Mukuro turned. I'm so used to just being two M names, Makoto and Monokuma. There's a third one now, it's throwing me off. Mukuro turned toward the familiar boys and saw Monokuma standing right before her. You're all alone with Makoto right now. Just think of me as a cute wild animal and let your lust lead the way. As a headmaster, I must prevent any illicit sexual relationships, but physical education classes are just fine, Missy. Though he looks just like that one. Yeah, just like the one that was in the gym. It's clearly a different Monokuma. Multiple Monokumas have been placed throughout the entire academy, so it wasn't a stretch to suddenly appear out of nowhere. Regardless, the same person was controlling all of them. Mukuro had been wary of Monokuma attacking her while she was still treating Makoto's wounds, but his appearance at this particular moment seemed to take her by surprise. Junko? Asked Mukuro cautiously. Monokuma tilted his head along with his entire body inquisitively. Junko? Who's that? Junko? I've never heard of that country before. No more jokes, answer me, Junko. You were planning to kill me earlier, right? Junko this, Junko that. What's your problem? I'm telling you, I'm Monokuma. Yeah, you must be a big disappointment if you remember something like that. If you can't remember something like that. You're not just a disappointment as a person, you're a disappointment as a sister too. You're too skinny, and your brain is nothing but muscles. She's too skinny? I'm pretty sure because she's almost old, she'll be beefier than you. And your personality is just unbearable. Sorry, said Mukuro. She didn't need to apologise, but hearing her little sister call her disappointment yet again was enough to make Ultimate Soldier recoil. Monokuma ignored her and her current situation, climbed on top of Makoto's barely breathing body, and began poking his cheeks. So what are you going to do with Makoto now? I'm really interested in human mating habits, you know. What are you? Asked Mukuro before trading off. Monokuma lowered his tone and began whispering in her ear. Makoto's a pretty nice guy, huh? He even sacrificed himself to save you. He's so generous that he is actually hopeless. He is not dead yet, insisted Mukuro. Despite her firm tone, she couldn't hide the fear lingering in her voice. That's the most disappointing thing about you. You can't even say I won't let him die. No. I won't let him die, Junko. Mukuro could barely get a word in as Monokuma erupted into poo-poo-poos and ah-ha-has and continued to torment her. As if he could do that. Too bad, no regrets, see you tomorrow. Is this all because Makoto was the first person to smile at you? You, a disappointing, depressing, unladylike, inhuman killer machine. Despite denying that he was Junko. Despite denying that he was Junko. Oh, I know, yeah. Monokuma began speaking at length about Mukuro's past. This contradiction was very much like Junko, and Mukuro was so shaken all she could do was watch the bear prattle on and on. Only the fit survive in this world, and the only thing that kind-hearted people do is die, you know? As proof, you're gonna watch Mukuro die really soon. He won't die. Mukuro's tone of voice had become irregular, even as she shook off her Junko wig. Aside from her conversation with Mukuro, everything she said was as Junko, was from the script and her sister had written. But now, there was no script for Mukuro to rely on anymore. Mukuro was treating Monokuma like she would treat her own sister. If the other students saw her acting so weak, they never believed she was the same person who fought Sakura in the gym. And it's not just that. If anyone from her mercenary past could see her now, her stark change in attitude might make them think that she was someone else entirely. Monokuma continued to rail against Mukuro. Nope, he's gonna die. I know it's sad, but you just have to face the facts. Monokuma wriggled his limbs and danced around, and then pointed right in Mukuro's face. Because Mukuro is gonna die by your hands, huh? In fighting among terrorists, the big bad terrorist silences the weak-willed Mukuro before he can leak any information. Doesn't that happen all the time? In the end, all the desperate things you said in the gym turned out to be lies that you told just to escape. Mukuro frowned at Monokuma. You can't do that, Junko. I won't let you do that. She blurted out those words in a trembling voice. Mukuro was gripped with confusion about what she just said. Am I defying Junko right now? Why? It was a strange feeling. To Mukuro, it was like she was standing on the ledge of a tall building and imagining what would happen if she jumped. A destructive feeling, a kid to hold her friend's baby, and wondering what would happen if you tripped and fell. Jesus. Before she knew it, fear and anxiety had suddenly taken control of Mukuro's heart. As a member of Fenrir, as the ultimate despair, Mukuro had killed innumerable people, and she had handled live grenades before. She had descended from the sky in a parachute as anti-aircraft weaponry fired all around her. Her heart never wavered on the battlefield, but now it felt like it could collapse at any second. Monokuma, however, was as stable as a tree, and slightly tilted his head to the side. Huh? Why you listen to my story? I'm not the one who's gonna kill Mukuro, you are. What are you saying, Junko? Monokuma began giving strange explanation to a very confused Mukuro. Do you know what the suspension bridge effect really means? It means you push a person you love off a bridge and they'll be yours for eternity. What? I haven't heard that at all. Life doesn't always follow you, or follow what textbooks say. It's sad, but that's what love is. His words made no sense, and Mukuro couldn't think of anything to say as she stood there dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Monokuma continued to his little speech, intentionally saying things that meant to antagonize Mukuro. Basically, this is your big chance, you know? If you kill Mukuro right here and now, nobody will ever take him away from you ever again. Mukuro Naegi, dead by dawn. The last name he ever spoke was Mukuro Ukusaba. The last person he ever smiled at was Mukuro Ukusaba. Some yandere shit going on here. This is some yandere belief. Jesus. Doesn't that sound wonderful? There was a certain appeal to this is some yandere shit. There was a certain appeal to Monokuma's twisted suggestion, and Mukuro found herself unsure of her own judgment. This is wrong. It has to be wrong, but it's really Junko saying all this. So doesn't this mean it's right? No, this isn't Junko. This is Monokuma. Monokuma. And are you sure you want to help Mukuro? Once he gets better, he's gonna know everything. He'll know what you did to your classmates. I can't believe you would actually erase your friends' memories of their time together and force them to kill each other. Mukuro might get mad at you and say, our real enemy isn't the bear, it's her. Do you really want him to blame you for this? Mukuro's face turned pale. Are you gonna kill the others? No, are you gonna kill the others? If everyone except you and Mukuro dies, you'll be able to spend the rest of your school lives together. We can't hold a class trial with only 2 people. It might be a good idea for you both to live the rest of your lives in this academy forever. No, that's wrong, And what are you gonna do if his memories return? It's not like you were dating Makoto or anything. You were just watching him from afar this whole time. Man, you're so shy. You can shoot people's hearts and brains, no problem. But you can't even woo some stupid boy into liking you. Do you want to know who Makoto had a crush on before his memories were taken away? Mukuro trembled. I can't believe this is a thing. I can't, like, she legit likes Makoto, and Junko's just like, yeah, bitch. Bitch, you like some stupid boy. Dumbass bitch. Okay. Mukuro trembled as Monokuma continued pressing the issue, gradually losing the screws keeping her heart secure. So Mukuro chose to pretend that she didn't hear anything at all. All emotion vanished from her face, and she looked silently at Makoto's handbook. If you're looking for his blood type, it's not written in the handbook. Mukuro's face turned pale. Within 5 seconds, her plan to ignore Monokuma had already failed. But since your headmaster is made up of 50% kindness, I'll tell you anyways. Makoto's blood type is B. As soon as she heard him say that, all the anxiety, horror, hostility, malice, and dread churning within Mukuro had completely vanished. Thank you, Junko. Mukuro's. Why would you believe the woman who exists for despair? Mukuro's eyes sparkled without a hint of suspicion, so she turned her back to Monokuma without a hint of suspicion, and walked toward the refrigerator containing the blood packs. Fresh blood packs should have been prepared before the plan took effect. They will last in cold storage for 21 days. What's with this series in 21 days? They should still be good. Despite her emotions face, Mukuro let herself feel a small amount of satisfaction as she took a blood pack out of the refrigerator. As Monokuma watched her, his enormously emotionless eyes twitched ever so slightly. If a third party could see his face right now, or even if other students could see his face right now, they'd wonder, is Monokuma surprised? That's right. They'd have the same shocked look on their faces as if they were seeing Monokuma for the first time. At that moment, a whisper crept out of Monokuma's emotionless face. There should be a limit to how disappointing you can be. It was far quieter than a mosquito's wings. Even with her battle-hardened hearing, Mukuro couldn't hear what he said. Monokuma shook his head and the voice returned to normal. It's not like I care that you, the ultimate despair, has hope for anything, or has hope in anything. It's not like I expected much from you to begin with, so this will at least help me feel despair. But seriously, you disappoint me. Just so you know, despair and disappointment are completely different things, okay? They're as different as bears and pandas. What are you? Mikuro's voice started to shake, and she turned back to look at Monokuma. He hadn't started talking any differently than usual. Junko hadn't turned her voice modulator and started talking with her hadn't turned off her voice modulator, so her voice or anything. And yet Mukuro was utterly terrified. She was terrified on instinct, not as a soldier. Half the reason she was terrified was because of her instincts as the ultimate despair, and the other half was because she was Junko's older sister. Even through Monokuma, her instincts would tell her that Junko was annoyed at her. Junko? Why are you annoyed? Is it because I betrayed you? Or is it because I didn't die like you wanted me to? Sulked Monokuma. I'm beyond annoyed. I'm really angry. I'm really disappointed right now. I'm so pissed I can't take a rage nap right now. Monokuma's anger didn't seem any different from his usual anger toward the students, but Mukuro could instinctively sense another emotion mixed within it. Right now, she could feel that Junko was feeling hopeless disappointment. It's normal for someone who's disappointed to lose hope, but for the ultimate despair, disappointment means something else entirely. To them, disappointment was tantamount to losing despair itself. Mukuro was a member of Ultimate Despair. At her sister's behest, Mukuro had soiled her hands many times in order to fill the world with despair. Despite her pride toward being a member of Ultimate Despair, there was a clear difference between Mukuro and her sister. Junko Nishima was despair incarnate. She was born in despair, letting it infect other people's hope so it could rot them from the inside, or from the inside out, twisting them into her own image. For Junko, feeling hope was its own despair. Creating despair in others created despair in herself, which caused her to both feel intense pain and intense bliss. Junko had walked the fracture created from the conflict between pleasure and penance all her life. Eventually the fracture would widen until it swallowed the world and tore it in half. But Mukuro, on the other hand, had neither hope nor despair for the world. At least not when she was a member of Fenrir. Ever since she was a child, Mukuro believed she was meant to spread despair because of her sister. She didn't harbour any ill will toward the world, she simply accepted that she was meant to spread despair and chose to walk the same path as her sister. The doubt she felt was only a recent development. When Junko told her about the plan, when she watched the world burn at the hands of terrorists wearing Monokuma masks, she never wavered once. However, as soon as she heard about her sister's plan to make their classmates kill each other, Makoto included, a strange feeling began to stir within her. What started as a seed of doubt soon grew into a thorny vine ensnaring Mokuro's heart. As soon as she disguised herself as Junko and finished meeting the other students, as soon as she confirmed that everyone's memories had been completely taken away, that vine began to tighten around Mukuro's heart. They're gone. Junko's the only one who knows about me now. That's it. But that's no problem. It's just like the old times. Things will never go back to how they used to be, but that's fine. This should be fine. She had unrelinquished the past 2 years she had spent with her friends, so she could betray them and deliver death and despair onto them. Though her heart ached, Mukuro was beyond feeling guilt or remorse for her actions. But the question, why does my heart ache like this, still remained unanswered. Perhaps that's why she spent so much time talking to Makoto when she was in the nurse's office. And when Makoto gave her one particular answer, something changed inside her. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. The words Mukuro blurted out to Makoto weren't improvised to further her role as Junko. It was an honest sentiment from the bottom of her heart. She was even planning to ask Junko herself if Makoto could somehow be spared from her plan. Over the past 2 years, Mukuro's interest had slowly shifted away from her sister and toward the world itself. By extension, her interests also included Makoto, the first person to ever smile at her and make her feel connected to the world. He was like a sapling of pure honesty that had taken root in Mukuro's heart. But by the time she realised that, the tree had already rotted. As Mukuro struggled to understand the situation, Monokuma let out a sigh and said, "I wonder which part of you is a wolf anyway? You're just a dog that blindly follows Junko's orders. What does that tattoo on your hand even mean? Are you just a bitch who's pleading her loyalty to her owner?" I bet Toko would say that, I'm positive. Monokuma continued to talk as Mukuro stood in confusion. I was obviously lying when I said Makoto's blood type is B. What? Well, yeah, obviously! Why would you not think that? What? Cried Mukuro. You lied, Junko? A normal person would have been suspicious. I never thought you'd actually believe me just now. I must have misplaced my eyes, because I totally did not see that coming. Not even with my ability to protect the future. How shocking. Jeez, I'm about to start crying my eyes out, like some sort of robot cat. Seriously. It's going to be okay, Junko, said Mukuro. I know your plan kind of fell apart, but I'm still on your side. Are you feeling alright? Because I'll do anything. Snap. A harsh sound came from Monokuma's mouth. That sound was one of my circuits overloading. It's been so long since I felt this angry. Meet me on the roof of the school. I'll smash out all your baby teeth. Monokuma started shadowboxing in front of Mukuro, who remained frozen in place, clenching a blood pack in her hands. She still looked confused, and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration. You're so disappointing, I can't even predict it anymore. A threatening roar burst out from Monokuma's mouth as he leapt at Mukuro with sharp claws extended. At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not a conscious action. It was defensive instincts she honed during her time with Fenrir temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attack. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made of a special alloy to easily slice the bar in half diagonally. But instead of following up his attack, Monokuma continues talking to Mukuro. I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, if you were so pathetic that you died from a single attack, that would have been interesting in its own way. But right now, you're just incompetent at everything. I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack, but there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. In contrast, between her youthful stoic self and the way she was acting now, in so stark, people might assume that she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still, as if all these functions had powered down completely, but Mukuro continued to share her feelings. There's no way I can just leave you alone. And then, Monokuma broke his silence, but at that moment, the monitor in the nurse's office lit up, displaying a girl's face, Junko Nishima. At the same time, a voice completely unlike Monokuma's began to play from the speakers. Hey Mukuro, Junko. It had been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice, though her face remained emotionless, excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, the shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to you, Mukuro, I mean it. Junko's voice, emanating from the speakers, sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier, and I was about to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know about your feelings towards Mukuro, you don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you. You never cared about the class photos, but when Mukuro, I noticed that shit. But when Mukuro said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. And then Junko Nishima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile, pure sweet smile. On the monitor, she seemed like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister, and yet Mukuro could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her. I always thought you should have tried hard to take pictures with Mukuro, but I guess that's what makes you disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you. Mukuro trembled upon hearing those words. I love you. That's all she wanted to hear her sister say. Mukuro believed, no matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed this is some fucked up relationship these two have. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand the despair known as Junko Nishima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say, I love you, Mukuro realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Mukuro finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words I love you might have been true as well. However, for Junko and Nishima, this is her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was painfully clear to Mukuro. And then, before she could even say anything, the girl on the monitor made a remark that cut Mukuro to the bone. I'm sure someday, you'll make your dreams come true. Ultimate despairs never talked to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed into Mukuro's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Mukuro had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the cause of ultimate despair. And at this moment, it all counted for nothing. All those years no longer mattered to Mukuro. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into the depths of despair. That's why Mukuro, even now, clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. Yeah, right. Do you really think I'll say something that nice? You're so annoying. Can't you just hurry up and disappear already? Mukuro hoped Junko would say something like that. She hoped that she'd start verbally abusing her again, or call her useless or incompetent. Mukuro was no masochist, but she'd prefer to be showered with bullets and contempt than endure this kind of emotional pain. But I love you, Mukuro. Bye bye. The monitor went black, leaving Mukuro to process the horrible goodbye she'd received. And as if on cue, Monokuma started moving again. Isn't family love so nice? By the way, did you know that in about half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member? Monokuma spoke his usual tone of voice. But this was it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mukuro. Mukuro let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor and tightened her grip on the iron bar she was holding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. She mumbled quietly as if she was chanting a spell. She walked past the blood pack on the floor to Mukuro's bedside with the iron bar in his hands. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it. So. Oh? Monokuma said, perking up. What are you gonna properly do to Mukuro with a big thick rod you got there? Are you gonna do him? Or are you gonna do him in? Either way, I'm starting to feel some heart-throbbing excitement. Mukuro looked like she had been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body suddenly floated in the air. Huh? With no expression in his face, Monokuma tried to see just what happened to him. In a blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. The tip of the iron bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into the sharp point, went straight through Monokuma and stabbed the surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down. The iron bar was still stabbed into the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. He opened his mouth to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his functions came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Mukuro had kicked Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source and his bomb circuit were perfectly aligned with the surveillance cam. Wow, this bitch has got skill! Mukuro plunged the iron bar into all three of them. No normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique. Not even an ultimate. All the hesitation within Mukuro had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. A tense aura surrounded Mukuro, even more so when she fought Sakura earlier. Ignoring Monokuma's lifeless form, she looked at Makoto as he breathed softly and remembered her sister's parting words. So this is despair, she mumbled to herself. I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was. She spoke without emotion like a machine. But it's going to be alright now, I finally understand. And within her, passions began to stir. So, I'll make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure to fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from this place. And I'll deal with the people on the outside world too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan. And I'll destroy every last remnant of it for you. This was not an act of revenge towards her sister who abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. Stuck between the ultimate despair and the hope she gained from Mukuro, Mukuro was being refined into something that was unlike despair or hope. And she had no way of knowing where her path would lead. Alright. Over 10 minutes had passed. The sound of the students leaving the gym, making their way to the nest office, ran through the hall. Genocide Jack had continued to dodge Sakura's attacks with her tricky movements, but when Byakuya blurted out, "Enough already, you irritating pervert," Genocide Jack stopped in her tracks. Oh my. Getting chewed out by the bespectacled Byakuya is making my masochistic side go all tingly. They say the line between sadism and masochism is paper thin, but in my case, it's more like a Venn diagram. Words cannot explain those hot waves of passion skirming from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. As she rambled incoherently about Byakuya, the other students tied her up with a microphone cable from the gym and locked her in the room. Half the students stayed to keep an eye on her, while the rest left to search the grounds of the school. As soon as the door to the nurse's office opened, Kyoko saw a non-functioning Monokuma with a hole in its chest and the remains of a surveillance camera. It wasn't just a nurse's office though. On their way here, the students had seen several destroyed surveillance cameras and scattered Monokuma bodies. There was a clear violation of school regulations, but if Mukuro was aligned with Monokuma, those regulations wouldn't apply to her anyway. The Monokuma inside the gym was no longer moving, and the students had lost contact with the hacker. So the students assumed that Madari had taken control of a different Monokuma and went after Mukuro on its own. With that in mind, Kyoko turned and looked inside the nurse's office once again. It was unusually quiet. The beds were empty, but Kyoko could see that the bloodstains that someone had been there recently. Looks like they're already gone. Mondo remarked, but as he was about to leave, Kyoko spoke up behind him. "I'm going to stay here with Chihiro and search for clues." "Huh?" Chihiro asked, her timid eyes widening. "Clues?" Kyoko continued speaking in a calm tone. "Yes, there may be some clues as to Indy's Monokuma remains. I figured you'd be the best candidate to investigate machinery." Sakura spoke up. "But isn't this dangerous?" Since Sakura could clearly hold her own fight with Mukuro, she had joined the other students in searching the school grounds. Kyoko shook her head and replied, "I'm sorry to say this, but if things get out of hand, Chihiro and I will just be in your way. I think it's better if we search for clues here instead of doing nothing. Besides, we might be able to use Monokuma's parts to detect any radio broadcasts from the outside world." You certainly have a point." "Understood. We'll be exploring this floor for a while. Please shout for us if anything happens." Sakura left the nurse's office. How did she destroy Monokuma like this? As Chihiro cautiously stood over Monokuma's remains, Kyoko started searching through the room. She zeroed in on one of the beds and began studying it intensely. A moment later, Kyoko was satisfied with what she had found and let out a small sigh before she spoke. "Chihiro, let me apologize to you in advance." "Huh?" "I dragged you into this on a gamble of mine, so if anything happens, run out into the hallway and call for help." "What does that mean?" But instead of answering Chihiro's question, Kyoko started talking to one of the empty beds. "Let me say this first. I'm prepared to hear your story. No matter how ridiculous it may sound, I promise not to decide if it's a lie or truth until after I've listened to it its entirety." Chihiro looked confused. She didn't understand what Kyoko meant at all. The ultimate, whatever, lowered her eyes and turned to the ultimate programmer to make a request. "Chihiro, does your laptop have a voice recorder function? And do you have a microphone?" "Yeah. I want you to use that to record everything we're about to hear." "But there's no one here." As Chihiro wondered to herself, she began connecting Monokuma's parts to her laptop and turned on the record function. "I'm sure we'll pick up every sound in this room now," said Chihiro nervously. Satisfied, Kyoko nodded once again and started talking to the empty bed. "So, what were you going to do if I told everyone that I'd found Mukuro?" When she heard Kyoko say that, Chihiro looked back at her and was surprised at what she saw. At that moment, the ultimate programmer was kneeling on the floor next to Monokuma's remains. From that position, she was able to see it. Of all the beds in the nurse's office, there was one bed in particular that couldn't be seen from the entrance. Underneath that bed was a limp Mukuro. A blood pack was hidden next to the bed and was slowly providing Mukuro with a transfusion. The contents of the blood pack were clear. Rather than blood, they seemed to be some kind of saline solution used in emergency hydration. Though it wouldn't be as effective as an actual blood transfusion, it was enough to keep him from going into shock. Though that was the extent of Chihiro's medical knowledge. She was already surprised that Mukuro had been in the nurse's office this whole time. Not only that, but Kyoko wasn't talking to the bed that Mukuro was under, which sent chills throughout Chihiro's body. However, there was nobody under the bed that Kyoko was facing. But the moment Chihiro noticed that, a voice rang from underneath it. "As soon as everyone's attention was focused on Mukuro, I was planning to take advantage of the opportunity and take someone hostage." As Chihiro cautiously lowered her head until it was nearly touching the floor, she was able to make out who was talking. Surprisingly, the person hiding there was clinging to the frame of the bed, like a ninja clinging to the ceiling. Presumably, if someone had glanced under the bed quickly, they wouldn't have noticed anyone at all. Though Chihiro had no idea how the person was able to hide under the bed for so long, she could at least understand that their strength was beyond normal human levels. There was no question that the person hiding under the bed was Mukuro Ukusaba. "But you pretended not to notice. Why?" Mukuro's voice was cold as ice, but Kyoko didn't even flinch as she responded. "Because I wanted to hear your side of the story. I knew you were hiding under that bed. Compared to the others, the frame was slightly more pronounced." Chihiro tried comparing the bed frames as if it was true, but she couldn't tell the difference at all. Only Kyoko's natural observation skills could let her see something like that. Mukuro seemed to come to a similar conclusion and appeared from under the bed without making a sound. Her face was stoic and cold compared to the bomb inside Monokuma. Chihiro thought she was even more terrifying. However, Mukuro ignored Chihiro and shifted her gaze to Kyoko. She leaned against the wall and let her arms fall to her side as she threw out another question. Why do you want to hear what I have to say? Kyoko thought about this simple question for a while, as if she was searching within her own heart for an answer. If I have to provide an answer, it's because I wish to remain neutral. Kyoko looked down, or quietly looked down. I'm currently missing most of my memories. I don't know who I am or what my talent had to be accepted into the school. She could hear a gasp behind her, but Kyoko didn't mind and continued. But even so, I believe I should listen to what you have to say. Regardless of whether you're good or evil, I must hear all the facts in order to know the truth. Good and evil don't matter. I'll come to a conclusion based on what I hear. I think that methodology that's been instilled into me. I see. I completely forgot that you are like that, Kyoko. But before I listen to what you have to say, I'd like to ask you one question first. What is it? Mukuro's reply was completely emotionless. Kyoko presented her a question as if she were asking herself as well. What was my talent that allowed me to attend this academy? The answer to that question was simple. Kyoko, you're the ultimate detective. The answer marked a turning point for both girls. Thank you. I have a better understanding of the situation now. Kyoko suddenly raised her head and presented a theory. If my memory loss wasn't just a coincidence, then your group, has the ability to erase people's memories. With that in mind, if we take into consideration the situation that unfolded in the gym earlier, I can only come to one possibility. Possibility? Yes. What you said to Byakuya when you thought you were taking Toko hostage, you claimed that they met 2 years ago. It's possible that might actually be true. The fact that Mukuro called out Mukuro's name, the things that Mukuro confirmed and denied, alongside Jack's outlandish claims. These key factors that Kyoko noted, using her special observation skills, were conveying in her mind from one answer, or to form one answer. It's possible that Byakuya and Toko's memories were also erased like mine, but I don't think their circumstances were quite the same as mine. But if our memories could be controlled so freely, it calls into question whether the day Monokuma appeared was really the same day we entered the academy. Like you said, it is possible that we've known Toko Fukawa for at least 2 years. What do you mean? Chihiro cried, still working on connecting her laptop to Monokuma's parts. Kyoko continued, speaking to both Chihiro and Mukuro. We thought that we were knocked unconscious with sleeping gas the moment we arrived at the school, but it's possible that we simply made to think that's what happened. For example, we may have already spent the last 2 years at Hospy Academy, and our memories of that time were completely erased. It's possible that we aren't even ultimates at all, just randomly, or just some random people who have been implanted. Now that's an interesting thought. Random people that were just given talents because memory wipes. That would be interesting. Watch that be the thing in fucking Danganronpa 3. Though Toko's claims sounded ridiculous, her face was completely serious. She looked up at Mukuro once again. Which means, I'm considering the possibility that your crazy story is actually the truth. Kyoko's declaration filled the room with silence. But she didn't let that silence overwhelm her. Kyoko cut through it with her own words. Without evidence, all I can do is make hypotheses. That's why I wanted to hear what you had to say, Mukuro. I have no intention of blindly believing what you're going to say, or what that self-proclaimed hacker who took over Monokuma said. She paused and lowered her eyes once again, then declared her with powerful determination. Even so, I intend to come to a conclusion, and fairly objective as I can. But I can only do that if you trust me with the truth. Kyoko's conviction was clear from her voice. Mukuro's eyes narrowed slightly, and a tapestry of emotions flushed across her face as she looked toward Kyoko. But when she opened her mouth, her expression and voice were completely devoid of emotion. That's right, I completely forgot you were like that. Mukuro repeated this to herself softly, and then faced Kyoko and declared, "That must be why Junko took care to erase more of your memories compared to the others." Very well, I'll tell you everything. And after Mukuro placed Mukuro back on the bed, she began to mechanically tell the story. The story of a girl who wanted to fill the world with despair. A girl who only felt happy when she was filled with despair herself. A plan for despair that began 2 years ago, or perhaps even earlier than that. How the world was currently ruled by despair itself, Mukuro provided a brief summary of everything she knew about the plan. That's why it sounded even more outrageous than Kyoko had expected. And through her story, Kyoko was able to learn the truth about herself, who she is and why she came to the academy, the fate of the academy is the overhead master, Kyoko's father. As she listened to Mukuro's story, Kyoko remained silent the whole time. Her face went blank when she learned her father had died. Perhaps her memory loss and the absurdity of the situation helped lessen the impact somewhat. But there was no guarantee Kyoko would even believe her story. After Mukuro finished speaking, Kyoko stayed silent. With her unrivaled mental prowess, she was able to listen to Mukuro's story without interrupting her or dismissing it as nonsense. Mukuro continued, "You don't have to believe me. After all, any pictures that would prove my story are with Junko. All I can do is talk." After she said that, Mukuro silently walked toward the entrance to the nurse's office. When she arrived at the door, she spoke again without looking back. "But even if you don't believe me, you still listen to everything I had to say, so Kyoko, Chihiro, thank you." After apologizing in such a strange tone of voice, she turned to the bed where Makoto lay, breathing weakly. "Make sure Makoto stays rested. When he wakes up, make sure you give him some sports drinks from the dining hall or supply room to drink. Please." "Of course, but what are you going to do now?" asked Kyoko. Mukuro strained herself up. "Despair. I need to make Junko feel despair." Mukuro continued mumbling to herself as she opened the door. "There's nothing else I can do." "No, there is something you can do." Mukuro stopped walking as Kyoko spoke firmly. "Regardless of whether Monokuma is really Junko Enoshima or Bisheki Madari, or Madari, I'm not sure. If you're dealing with him, you won't be able to lay a finger on Makoto. Or he won't be able to be with Makoto. I don't fully trust you, but if you're really concerned for Makoto's life, I'm willing to work with you. Unlike Biseki, who's probably abandoned him already. Right? I'm sorry. I don't really work well with others." Mukuro looked away and then bowed her head as she left the nurse's office. "But I'll do my best." The doors closed and Mukuro was gone. "I'm sorry for involving you in something like so dangerous, Chihiro." As she continued to organize the vast amount of information that Mukuro gave her, Kyoko turned to Chihiro, who was still working on Monokuma. As she trembled with fear, Chihiro slowly looked back at Kyoko. Kyoko? About what Monokuma said just now. Or about what Mukuro said just now." Chihiro's face turned pale as she struggled with her words, and Kyoko tried to calm her down. "We can't determine if anything she told us was true or not. There's no need to be afraid." But Chihiro shook her head and returned to looking at her laptop. I think she's telling the truth." "What are you basing this on?" Well, it looks like Monokuma is really being controlled from the outside. Part of Monokuma's systems have been connected to Chihiro's laptops. She was analysing data from its control system. And it was then that the Orient programmer noticed something unusual about it. This control program. I thought it would be another year before the system became fully operational. Chihiro started trembling so much that she was unable to continue speaking. "We can't confirm that," said Kyoko, proposing another possibility to avoid jumping to conclusions. "It's possible a similar program is being developed in secret," but Chihiro adamantly shook her head and said, "No, that's not it. This looks really familiar to me." Kyoko looked over Chihiro's trembling shoulders and appeared at the screen. That's when she noticed. "This program. Chihiro, did you create this?" All the Ultimate Programmer could do was nod weakly. "Ah, damn! Damn, boy!"